It is Thursday, May the 19th. Welcome to your post-daily news show. I am John Pollock, along with the Golden Lover, Wai Ting.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, it is Thursday. Yes.
Thursday. It's just a Thursday happening. A little cold outside, I will admit.
I haven't been outside yet, so I will take your word
just
for it.
stay out. It's
You are my
compared
weather.
to Sunday, it's like the winter. It's crazy outside.
You are my meteorologist on most days because you experience the weather before I do. So I will do my best.
Sunday threw me. We hit it. It was our hottest day of the year. It was over 25 Celsius, and then since Sunday, it's gone down to like the 13 range or so, which is still nice, but in comparison, my body's not ready for it. So I go out. It might as well be January at this moment. I don't know what jacket to wear.
No, this is the time that's just if you're low on space. I mean, what do? You pack away the jackets yet? Do you bring up the
Pack it all
shorts
away.
yet?
It's gone.
Everything
It's
is
May.
out. Everything is out right now.
I want a consistency. You know, I understand there's going to be a bit of a range, but come on. What are you drinking?
This is an AHA.
Aha.
It's a sparkling water beverage.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm trying coffee out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you might like it.
It's good. It's good. I think I'm getting to the intervention point where I think I'm going to slowly ease it out of my.
Well, how much do you drink a day? Why do you say that?
See, it's difficult because when people say, "Well, I have X amount of cups a day," what does a cup of coffee mean? Like what would
250 milliliters.
This be? Okay, well, how tall is a large?
That's a bit more than 250 milliliters. How much is a cup of coffee? I mean, how many of those do you drink a day?
One. I have one of these.
Oh, I don't think that's anything.
But then I also make some as well.
So what are you talking? So how many do you drink? You buy one of those and you make it at home. So overall, how much do you consume?
Like there's a fair amount. Yeah.
Okay.
I would guess 250 milliliters. In my head, I'm gonna say maybe 5.
Nobody just drinks one 250 milliliter thing unless you're drinking espresso. So I mean, 5. Let's say that's a liter, like, or plus, of coffee. I don't think that's that crazy. It's definitely more than maybe typical, but I don't even know about that. Like we're a coffee culture, so I think you're okay, man.
Yeah.
I'm no doctor though. We'll ask Mr. Patel.
What if it was an illegal drug that I was telling you that I consume a significant amount of every day? Would you be concerned, or would you be like, you know what? We're an illegal drug culture.
I guess it would depend on the drug, but yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, if most illegal drugs, if you're taking 1.25 liters of a day, I suppose there'd be some concern. Yeah,
I am the Bryan Danielson here at Post Wrestling. Okay, I'm a squeaky clean nerd that does not partake in illegal drugs. But if I do, I will let Wai know here on the air. But
See, I wonder,
it's caffeine, and that's everyone's got their vices. Mine is obviously coffee. So I look at it that, hey, of the vices you could have in your life, coffee isn't so bad, is it?
I don't think so. I think they could be way worse. Does Bryan Danielson even drink coffee?
Great question. He doesn't seem like a coffee type. No, he probably like takes the coffee beans and like extracts some kind of
Yeah.
he steams them and then like inhales the coffee steam. Like I could see him describing like this.
Yeah.
I read about this. You inhale the steamed coffee beans, and that eliminates the negative side effects of caffeine because you're vaporizing coffee.
Well, listen, before we move on to the news, very quickly, because somebody's mentioning it in the chat room here. Do you want to talk at all about like the Bryan Danielson thing that might have taken place on Rampage and might not have?
Only that it happened. I don't know if this is a big deal or not.
So this is like kind of spoiler territory, but I mean, I don't think.
It's not a spoiler. It's news.
So what happened?
I mean, after the tag main event with Danielson and Moxley against Dante Martin and Matt Sydal, Danielson apparently got his foot caught between. You could see the gap between the staging area where the ramp goes up.
The elevated
the ring.
ramp. Yeah.
And he got his foot caught between there. And I did get notes from people that were there at the building, like sharing it. And you can see the video. And it just seemed like it was caught for several minutes. And then they finally got him free. So that was the extent of it. I haven't heard of like it being anything serious or any kind of injury as a result of it. I know there was some suggestion it was it was a planned spot. I don't understand what the purpose of that would be. So I didn't look at it as anything significant.
Yeah, I guess it is possible that it could be a work. I mean, in results
For what? For what?
I mean, 10 minutes to work somebody into thinking that they might be injured, and then him walking away anyway with like seemingly both legs perfectly fine. Yeah, I don't understand what the plan, like what the reason would have been.
I'd be stunned if this appeared on television.
Yeah, but it did get people, wondering and online and speculating about what had happened. Maybe that was, I don't know, dude. Maybe it's a way of telling people, hey, by the way, everybody, Bryan Danielson is going to be on this week's edition of Rampage with Jon Moxley.
Guys, I got a great idea for people to tune in on Friday. Okay,
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
It involves the ring.
I'm going to get my foot caught for 10 minutes.
Well,
Yeah, who
there's the
knows?
lineup for Rampage. For those that missed the show on Wednesday night, that we ran through the lineup, and you might have missed it watching Dynamite because Excalibur, I mean, he had to shoehorn this lineup in there. 7:00 Eastern on Friday night, headlined by Moxley and Danielson against the team of Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. We're going to get the first round match of the Owen Hart Cup between Red Velvet and Chris Statlander, with the winner advancing to take on Ruby Soho. Sean Spears against the Giant Killer Dane.
Oh, against quote unquote a giant. Yes, okay.
A
interesting.
giant. And then a workout video with Danhausen and Hook. And we will also have the House of Black against Evil Uno, Preston Vance, and Fuego del Sol.
Forget all this. I want to see Bryan Danielson's foot caught between the ring and the ramp for 10 minutes. I hope they air all of it.
They should have done it the whole episode. That should have been the opening match. He gets
That would be
caught,
amazing.
and then he's there the whole. They get him on screen for 60 minutes, and then at the end he gets out and he kicks the guy with his leg, and he was fine.
One of the best
whole time.
Rampages ever. I'd be glued. 7:00. I'm right there.
Yeah, and then him and Sting can both have matching injuries on TV.
Yeah.
Lots
That's right.
of ways you
Broken
can
ankles.
go about this. Well, not the way I thought we were going to start this show with coffee addiction and Brian's ankle, but let's get into some other news. And I guess, maybe important for what was not news at the Warner Brothers Discovery Upfront presentation on Wednesday. And, it had been discussed like how involved AEW would be when it comes to the presentation to advertisers and media on Wednesday. And it wasn't nothing. They were brought up, but it was pretty well in passing. There were some highlights of AEW when they were presenting like their live sports reel and images of some of their selected programming, including Dynamite, with a photo of Red Velvet that you can see, but hardly something that was front and center. And I don't know if you have to be looking at this with the conclusion that the sky is falling for AEW, but there is a lot at play when a company is going through a massive merger that typically comes with a lot of slashing of costs. You've had David Zaslav, the head of the entire company, state that we are not going to be just making, for lack of a better term, ridiculous spending when it comes to content for their streaming platforms. Like, they're going to be strategic in their spending. But at the same time, live sports is a huge attractive part of the Warner Brothers Discovery portfolio, led by the NBA. And AEW has been like a shining light when it comes to Wednesday night programming, specifically for Dynamite and going into that contract year. So, yeah, I would say coming out of this, you would be looking at it and not necessarily seeing AEW as, let's not forget, a couple of years ago, the launch of AEW was revealed at the Upfront presentation. So it's not like wrestling is just this thing that is way down and is just a mysterious line item that they don't flaunt and promote. And we've seen lots of synergy over the years with different programming with AEW. Pretty much the wrestling connection at this Upfront presentation was John Cena, who appeared 2 separate times, one with James Gunn to promote the second season of Peacemaker on HBO Max, and then coming back with Nicole Byer to promote Wipeout on TBS. So you can't see AEW, but you could see a lot of John Cena at this Upfront presentation.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of interest going into this week with both upfronts for WWE or their partners, I should say. And in particular, like I think more interesting for AEW, considering all that's going on with Warner Brothers and Discovery right now. A new leadership, one that was not there for the launch of AEW. At least the people that are in charge of those particular networks. So, yeah, I think the
Two keys in like Kevin Riley, number one, and then recently Brett White, who we have covered on his way out. Two significant factors when it comes to AEW's relationship there.
Yeah, the rumor or the idea that the AEW was going to be a major part of these presentations, I think at least provided some form of potential relief that that it would continue to be seen as a major property in its portfolio. The fact that coming out of it, we basically had no AEW mentions or appearances here. You could see a wide array of stars, including Wayne Gretzky, including these property brothers. Shaq, John
Do you think
Cena.
the backdrop was specifically measured to accommodate Shaq? Do you think like that is where, like, you wouldn't want him going higher than that, would you?
I had to think so. Although, like, it pretty much goes up to the ceiling there, and I don't know.
Yeah,
if
oh, you're right. There's not a whole lot more room. You would have had to raise the roof.
Yeah, you couldn't have made much of a bigger backdrop, but yeah, I definitely feel like it is it concerning. I mean, as wrestling fans, with a particular eye on AEW, we're going to probably make a bigger deal out of this than they would themselves. But ultimately, ratings speak for themselves, and AEW still winning the night for them in most cases on a Wednesday. So I don't think we should maybe look too deeply into it, but. The relief, I suppose, is not there at this moment.
Yeah, sometimes you have to look at this, and it's very easy to go to one extreme or the other instead of the more realistic play of like you don't know what this is ultimately going to mean. And if you're looking at the bigger story to me is when these rights come due, and this is very much applicable to WWE as well, is how much outside interest there is that if for whatever reason like Warner Brothers Discovery is not willing to meet them at a certain level or are less engaging when it comes to a renewal, the options on the table as well. Like that's a huge part of it too. And I think they benefit from the fact that WWE is going to be out in the market, and you're going to have, in theory, Nick Khan speaking to a lot of people, and wrestling is going to be, tabled as a discussion. Like, does this strategically work with our network? And if we cannot get a deal with WWE, what else is out there? Here's this other product that shows, very encouraging numbers at a fraction of the price of the industry leader. And that only helps when you have these added streamers that are looking for programming. You look at what the XFL has just gotten, and that's more of a comparable than AEW or WWE to an NBA or NFL rights. But the fact that Disney is investing so heavily in the XFL, at least for term, we don't know what the value of that deal is, but for 5 years, that tells you of a product that, if our comparable is the USFL, it's not like they're lighting the world on fire with spring league football.
Yeah. But there's always the difference between maybe the perception to advertisers of what even minor league football might be able to garner versus what professional wrestling might be able to garner. It's going to be a really interesting question to continue to look at, and how this new regime looks at professional wrestling.
And the F1 rights, the biggest ones of all.
I know. The ratings are going to be interesting to continue to track this week and next. To see if
this is an early race on Sunday.
Yeah, 9 a.m. again. So
you know what's wild? I got invited to an F1 viewing party on Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, but that tells you just how big it is. Like, I'm getting invited to parties now, and I was like, that's the environment you want to watch these races in.
I think so. So John is. It was my invite. I'm actually having people over at 9 a.m. People are willing to come over. Well, let me just tell you, they're mainly my wife's friends. Okay, they're not even my friends. I don't really have friends anymore. But my wife's social
you've got
circle,
me away.
Yeah. You're the only person. You're my only invite. But my wife's friends are into this thing right now, and they're willing to come over at 9 a.m. because we happen to have TSN to watch this.
Wow.
I mean, they're gonna hang out anyway, but like they decided to like be like, okay, we'll go early to watch the F1.
It
So,
sounds fun. It sounds a lot of fun.
yeah, a bit of brunch, a bit of eggs with your Spanish Grand Prix. Why not?
All right, let's move on here. So coming out of a Dynamite on Wednesday night, this is our latest update for Double or Nothing on Sunday, May the 29th. I kind of put this together with the matches that have been announced and then other programs that could lead to the pay-per-view. Of course, Hangman Page and CM Punk for the AEW Championship. We touched upon this more in depth on Wednesday, but I think this is a super intriguing main event. It's been a simple build-up, but a very effective one. I'm very intrigued by this match, by the reaction, and I think this is one of those matches where you genuinely can see either guy winning, and that's, to me, always a compelling aspect to a match, rather than not. I think that there's strong arguments either way. So the outcome people are going to be invested in on top of it.
Totally, absolutely. We're talking about, I think, a double babyface headlining main event for the AEW Championship that we're both meant honestly feel equally as hot, depending on the city. And last night I thought was a perfect example of it, with the both of them kind of doing a bit of a dueling chants just by staring at each other. And the crowds seem pretty evenly split to me, and again, I think it depends on the city. But, for Hangman Page, like it feels like a world title defense that is actually worthy of the main event. It is the match that I think, most of us are probably looking forward to. I mean, you can argue, some of these other ones we'll be mentioning, but there's an argument that this is the match that will deliver the biggest crowd reaction, in the evening. So it feels like a really strong headliner.
Also announced is Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb for the Women's Championship. Set up on Wednesday is the three-way for the tag titles, with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus defending against Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks and Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. The finals of both the men's and women's Owen Hart Cup tournaments, we know it will be Adam Cole taking on either Samoa Joe or Kyle O'Reilly, and then either Britt Baker or Toni Storm against the winner of the, against either Ruby Soho, Red Velvet, or Chris Statlander.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, okay. I just saved my Twitter account for the next 5 hours. Yeah. Jericho Appreciation Society against Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Santana in a Anarchy in the Arena match, if that's the tagline we are going with. Pretty much, we're all going to bleed excessively in this match.
All over the audience.
Everyone's going to bleed. I bet Regal bleeds in this. Everyone's going to bleed.
Everybody's feet are going to get caught in the ramps between the rings, and they're just
toothbrushes.
Ooh, yeah. Yes.
MJF against Wardlow, and for the buy-in, Danhausen and Hook against Tony Nese and Mark Sterling. Now, not announced, but at least the direction that they are going with several of these. Obviously, something involving the Young Bucks and the Hardys, whether this becomes a straight tag, whether this is a six-man where you add in, say, an O'Reilly or a Fish and a Darby Allin, whether it's an eight-man. Also worth noting is that coming out of this show, they have the Forum in Los Angeles, and then the live Rampage is in Ontario, California. So you would want to have the Young Bucks, especially, I would say, on that Friday show, but Wednesday too, in something big. And maybe that is where you hold off for something larger. But obviously some representation on the pay-per-view. Sting, they did the injury angle with on Wednesday night, so in theory that would take him out of the match. Scorpio Sky, Sammy Guevara, and Frankie Kazarian are all involved with the TNT Championship. Death Triangle against House of Black. Obviously, they're building towards that. And then we got the challenge with Roppongi Vice and FTR. And then you have like loose ends like a Jade Cargill. If they put her into something maybe with the baddies, they do end up doing some kind of an angle on Rampage as well. But this is not going to be a card that is short on matches or talent.
I mean, including the buy-in match, just of what's announced so far, we're already at 7. So how many more can they realistically add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last show they were around 11, 12. So
oh my God,
that's that is what you're kind of looking at for these pay-per-views. Moving on, NXT on Tuesday night did 601,000 viewers and 183,000 in the 18 to 49 demo, as reported by Brandon Thurston and Showbuzz Daily. So they were up notably from the week before, but the previous week was their lowest figures in the history of NXT on the USA Network. So you are coming down from an all-time low. But that said, it was a 13% viewership increase and a 41% jump in their 18 to 49, which was their highest in the demo since March the 29th. They also doubled their 18 to 34 audience from the week before, and this was up against the Miami Heat Boston Celtics game that started at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time. It was preceded by the NBA Draft Lottery. The game did 6,070,000 viewers and a 2.22 in 18 to 49. So as we get to the conference finals that they are in, I mean, these are staggering numbers for the NBA, and we're not even like deep into the third round, much less the finals. So the one good thing is as the deeper you get into the playoffs, less nights of the week are occupied. You'll have some off nights, but nonetheless, it's the nights where wrestling is going head to head with it, especially if you're looking at Golden State advancing to the finals. These are going to be some massive numbers. And in Canada, it's going to be the inverse effect with the NHL. That is going to be the behemoth. We finished our show, and I tuned in to the Edmonton-Calgary game. It's the Battle of Alberta way. Dude, they scored like 6 goals in like rapid succession. Calgary won 9-6. This turned into a baseball box score by the end of it. It was unbelievable.
Must have been quite the game to go to. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Was it a work, John? You know, did they work this to try to get people like you to talk about it and tune in? Did they work this score?
I would love to dive into like hockey culture of, oh, it's okay when Calgary gives up 6 goals, but if the Toronto Maple Leafs did it.
You don't, dude. I imagine those.
Oh, I'm sure it's the most.
Just as toxic as I'm sure. Like anytime we're passionate about something, it tends to just kind of get into those sort of arguments. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but
cool.
this Battle of Alberta, it's perfectly suited for us because these games start at 10:30 at night. So I'm gonna watch this after SmackDown on Friday night.
Okay.
It's the one
cool.
The one series I'm following is Calgary and Edmonton right now. This was a fantastic game. If like this was all. It was all high spots. No psychology. These goalies, they were, man, it was crazy. Like a 15-goal game.
Keep me updated. You're my pipeline to weather and sports.
Okay. Then we have, what's next? Oh, by the way, Young Rock did 1,866,000 viewers and a .35 in 18 to 49 on Tuesday night. Shinjiro Otani, there is going to be a benefit show for him. Actually, next week there are 2 notable shows. First, on Monday, it's the anniversary of Hana Kimura's passing, and there's going to be a tribute show for her that's streaming on Fight TV. I believe the commentary will be done by Fumi Saito over at the Wrestling Observer site, and Kyrie. It's going to be streaming on Fight TV, and Karen Peterson is going to be doing a report on the show for Post Wrestling on Monday, so you can look forward to that. And then on June the 4th, it's going to be the Shinjiro Otani benefit card. Of course, Shinjiro Otani paralyzed from the neck down last month after an injury against Takeshi Sugiura, a cervical neck injury. And yeah, there's going to be this benefit show that's going to be headlined by Takeshi Sugiura and Masato Tanaka for the 0-1 World Heavyweight Championship. We'll find the link and post it, but I know that there is a shirt that's also being sold with funds going to Shinjiro Otani. So, of course, our thoughts are with Shinjiro Otani. Unfortunately, there does not appear to be any significant update on his health situation, but that is going to be going down next week on June the 4th. And we also want to mention something that we are going to do on Monday. It is May 23rd, and that is the unfortunate anniversary of not just Hana Kimura's passing, but also the death of Owen Hart in May of 1999. So I'm going to give all credit to Wai Ting for coming up with this idea. In place of the post-daily news show that day, we are going to re-air the Owen Hart's Final Day audio documentary that we put out back in 2019, but with a twist to it. We're going to live stream it, and then we're going to take pauses throughout where Wai and I are going to react to some of the clips. I'll give some stories maybe on some of the interviews that I conducted for this, and we're going to be doing that live Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So a little bit different for the daily news show, but I thought this is a really cool idea that Wai cooked up to do on Monday.
I think it's, oh, I mean, you're a wonderful resource, you know? So, I mean, I'm very curious to just kind of dig into this thing again. I mean, it's a way to, again, celebrate the life of Owen Hart by revisiting this piece and maybe getting, for me, a bit of a glimpse into your process of gathering these interviews and putting this entire thing together. And of course, we're going to open questions up to the chat rooms as well. Super chats will be open throughout all that as well. So if you want to get your questions in for John Pollock about his making of Owen Hart's final day, join us then Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. I don't think I've sat down and actually listened to this since we put it out. So some of it will be, and I won't until Monday. So I'll be also listening to it for the first time in quite a while. So there you go. Can I ask one little behind the scenes question?
Sure.
Like, I didn't tell you at all that I was going to mention that. And you have like you get like the key up so quick. Like, did you just type that now? Do you have that on standby?
Yeah.
You just type that now. That was so quick.
I mean,
it wasn't even out of my mouth, and you had that up there. That's remarkable how fast you are.
I mean, I knew what you were about to talk about, so I just did a quick Google search.
I don't even hear you typing, though. I mean, it's
you know, these Mac keyboards are very silent, so I'm a fast typer. I know shortcuts and all that. So
okay. Thank you to everyone. That's my own personal question that I had there for Wai. Final thing here is Impact tonight at 8 Eastern on Access TV. We are going to see the Briscoes defending the 8. I just screwed up on 2 promotions. The Impact tag titles. They've had all of these titles. Taking on Joe Doring and Diener for the Impact tag titles. Tasha Steelz, Savannah Evans, and Deonna Purrazzo against Taya Valkyrie, Jordan Grace, and Mia Yim. The Good Brothers will take on Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. A match between Laredo Kid and Speedball Mike Bailey. And before the Impact sees Crazy Steve taking on Zicky Dice. That's what's happening on Impact as they continue their build towards Slammiversary, which is 1 month from today. So quite a bit of time until their pay-per-view in Nashville next month. So Nashville is going to be very busy these next couple of months between Slammiversary, Starcast, and SummerSlam weekend at the end of July.
And here in Toronto, we're still waiting.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So that's going to wrap things up.
No, it's not, John, because we got some super chats.
I said after we get to these super chats,
of course.
A wrap.
Let's go to Brandon from New Jersey, who sends $5. Thank you for the support, Brandon, and thank you for what is, I'm sure, a question that I may regret reading. Why do you got beef with cats who use 2 cups for coffee when purchasing said coffee? You feel me?
I have no idea what this means.
I think he means people who double cup to insulate.
Okay. I'm not a double cup person. Beef? Not at all. If you want a double cup, that's fine. But I've done this rant. I don't want to just do the greatest hits, but I have ranted before about like the sleeve needs to be mandatory at some of these places. And that's my rule, is that if you're going to hand me the coffee and not give me a sleeve, then you have to hold it in your hand for 30 seconds first, and then I'll take it.
Would you feel the same way if you're waiting in line and there are 10 people ahead of you and,
I don't design the cups. I'm just saying that I cannot hold this thing where my hand is like I'm going to need a skin graft by the time I'm putting this coffee down at the end of it. Now, I will say, all of the Tim Hortons in my areas, they have gotten much better at this. Before, you had to be like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible trying to get one of these to get behind the counter to try and get one. And now they have them out in front, so you are able to, at your leisure, take one, which I'm fine. Give me the option and I will do that. But before, it was like, Jesus Christ, I need a security code to get back there.
No, they can be, rather protective of their sleeves. Their sleeve stock is I think only so much, perhaps. But Brandon, I actually do have beef with people who double cup, and that's for environmental reasons.
Yeah, I don't ask. I never double cup. Sometimes they have double cupped without me asking, and they give me the 2.
Yeah, we at least in Toronto, we those are not recyclable. Like these plastic lined cups, they're not recyclable. So 2 of them, I mean, it's just more work for the landfill. Whereas a sleeve, you can recycle that. So that's why, Brandon, think about the world, please.
And always remember this part, recycling. This part, garbage.
Yeah, the lid John is talking about. Unless it's black in Toronto. You can't recycle black lids.
That's right.
It's very complicated. I don't know why it is. We go to Gregory McLean, who sends $5. Thank you very much, Gregory. He says, with Naomi's contract reportedly expiring soon, Could you see her leaving WWE, or does she resign once things are resolved, stemming from Monday?
I mean, those are the two options, right? I mean, it's like, I don't think you can answer that. I mean, obviously, if her contract expires, she could leave. It depends how this is resolved. I don't think this story is over.
You know, I don't see her leaving the ecosystem. For one thing, I mean, her husband is there. Not to say that that might necessarily stop her, but I also don't know if the appetite is as strong for Naomi outside of the WWE as it is within it. And that's as more so to say, like, I like her in ring. I love her as a character. I love just the idea of her. I want to see her as a future, champion again. But she doesn't exactly have the sort of cachet of the great body of in ring quality that I think we've become used to, that we get really excited about when we're talking about talents that are let go and might make their way to the indies or to another company. I personally think her biggest value is in the WWE, and I wonder if she recognizes that herself.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another part of that equation is like WWE, how that affects their decision to resign her or lowball her in an offer as well. Like, there were obviously very strong feelings on that side of things on Monday night, and whether they are smoothed over or not.
Mm-hmm. We go to Jake from the Windy City, who says, great game last night. Connor McDavid, the new GOAT. He's a hockey player, I take it.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good stuff. I only know that Tavares dude because of CM Punk.
Well, there you go. Maybe we'll get a Connor McDavid jersey before the end.
One last super chat here. LCT sends $10. Thank you very much for the support. He says, how long do you think the World Heavyweight Championship will be unified? Do you think the tag belts will actually be unified?
The world title, I mean, I don't see them breaking it up anytime soon. It seems like that this is what they are going with. And when you realize the fact that, Roman is not going to be doing every last show in the next while, and the fact that they are keeping the title on one person, it tells you they are very much like this is the direction they want to be in. But it's not like they've merged it into one new belt. They've got the two separate ones. I think in time they will separate it when they feel it's time to do so. The tag belts, I don't really see a need to unify them. Again, if they do, I would imagine it would be another temporary one. And I can only see like maybe they see some value in the bloodline just having even more belts, belts upon belts. But I think it's sort of diminishing returns at that point, and how much we are kind of handicapping things with all of these belts on such a select few people.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Again, it's always fun to compare one company to the other, but here we are talking about WWE not having enough belts, or at least not having enough of them being constantly defended. And AEW having the opposite issue where, I mean, they're constantly introducing new belts, new titles already made, and trios titles already made and not yet introduced. So,
which, I mean, it does kind of tie into the other story that we talk so much about, like the IC and US titles being like so down the list of importance. Realistically, like your number 2 titles are your women's titles. And that to me would be, the thriving division I want. And now you have, this public issue with 2 significant talents, and one in Sasha Banks that I think everyone puts in that same class, even though she has not been presented recently over the past year at the level of Becky Lynch, of Charlotte Flair, and now Ronda.
A couple more things here before we get out of here, okay? We're giving you guys some bonus show here. And by bonus show, I mean some plugs for some of the great work that we've done recently. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it yesterday on any of our shows, but we just released Rewind Away number 110, WWF Thursday, Raw Thursday. It's been getting a lot of great reviews from people who have chose to listen to it. So if you haven't yet, John, what are we going to, what can people expect to hear in this one?
I think the portion that people will be most drawn to is a 45-minute discussion on the Shawn Michaels losing his smile speech, and really looking at it from many different angles, including the coverage at the time, the attitude of the locker room at the time, how Brett and Sean both wrote about that night in their respective books, and how we look at a segment like this in 2022 and theorize how it would be received today with someone that was a very complicated figure in Shawn Michaels, that it is a segment that elicits sympathy for an individual that did not have a whole lot of that in 1997, and some of it justifiably so, given the problems that others have attested to. So I found it to be one of our more interesting discussions that we've had in a long time. So I was very happy with that particular portion of the show. But it's a very chaotic time for the World Wrestling Federation. They have just expanded Raw to 2 hours and are going live every week. And here they are expanding their show and losing a major player. At this moment, there is a question mark about Shawn Michaels' viability as an in-ring performer. Now, that would not turn out because he would be back by the end of May and this knee injury would not be as bad as thought. But again, as we will go into in this segment, this was a lot more than a knee injury that Shawn Michaels was dealing with in his life.
And those of you who are patrons and prefer video, that is up available in video form as well. So just go to the link at postwrestlingcafe.com. You could find a video link and you can watch us. Also featuring, of course, appearances by our man Neil Flanagan, who chose the show, along with Jesse from the Six, who helped him choose the show, as they talk about their thoughts and go through the trivia gauntlet. So that's up right now at postwrestlingcafe.com. And if you are looking for something to occupy your time right now, I wanted to just give a shout out to the BDE, who are doing their afternoon edition of BD Elite at 2 p.m. So just 20 minutes after the conclusion of this broadcast right now at twitch.tv/upnextpodcast. And then if you're still looking for something to watch after that, 3 o'clock Eastern time, it is the Wellness Policy with me and Jordan Goodman. We will be talking about comedy. The culture of comedy, the nature of comedy, the why it helps us, our health, and maybe some of the political issues that comedians are having to deal with right now. So join us all afternoon here at postwrestling.com.
And then out tonight, we'll have a new edition of Post Pro Res with myself and WH Park. We're going to be going through the latest involving Kota Ibushi in New Japan, the state of pro wrestling Noah. We'll talk about the Forbidden Door show, Stardom's upcoming 5-star Grand Prix. We're going to be covering all the latest news in Japanese professional wrestling. So no shortage of great stuff to check out. And that is going to wrap up the Post Wrestling Upfront presentation and all the great stuff that is going on here. We are very committed to all of our programming long term. We're picking up any options that come our way. Huge rights fees coming down the pike as well. So I want to thank Wai, as always, and all of you for sending in your super chats or just taking time out of your day to check out what is happening in the post office. And we will speak with you, well, in a couple of minutes, apparently. So that is it. Thank you for watching.